Good morning. Welcome to PKA Technologies Defeating the Adversary, an update on enterprise security tech talk. I'm David Singer, Director of Marketing here at PKA, and I'll be the moderator during today's presentation. For now, please enjoy a cup of virtual coffee and be sure to stay to the end and complete our survey. At that time, you'll have the opportunity to let us know which brand of coffee you prefer, and we'll send you a gift card so you can enjoy a real cup of coffee. Following today's presentation, we'll provide you with a link to the copy of the slides and a recording, as well as a copy of Frost & Sullivan's white paper, Next Generation Enterprise Network Security Solutions, the Importance of Incorporating Vulnerability Intelligence. While there's no question that your networks are under constant attack, with some recent high-profile data breaches, it is a reminder that we need to remain ever vigilant. Unfortunately, no one knows more about security flaws than bad guys. They trade secrets day and night with a single-minded purpose: accessing your data. To succeed, you have to think just like them and be ready to thwart them. Today, we are fortunate to have Ilya Akinev from Hewlett-Packard join us. He is a senior network security architect and has over 15 years of experience in the security marketplace. In addition, Kevin Lemieux, an HP network security specialist, is here as well to provide his industry insights. They will give you an update on the latest thinking on defeating these adversaries. At this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Ilya and sit back and enjoy.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ilya Akinev speaking. Thank you for joining us today. What I'd like to talk about is the new threat market, and by that I mean the way the attacks that you see happening on your networks, as well as the networks of many large organizations, come about. And David, I believe I need to get presenter control here to move the slides.
You should have it. If not, I will advance slides for you. Just give me the prompts.
Let's go ahead and advance. So still seeing the introductory slide. David?
Yes.
I'm still seeing the introductory slide.
You're still seeing. All right. Hold on. There we go.
All right, sounds good. So as I'm sure many of you have been in the industry for a while, you're familiar with the sort of curve that you see in front of you. That is that every year the attacks get more numerous, more costly, and affect a much broader swath of the population. And this is just talking about numbers. If you look a little bit deeper behind this, you'll also remember things like Stuxnet, Energetic Bear, so attacks that may not affect a large number of users or a lot of personal information, but go deep into critical infrastructure or otherwise potentially disrupt all aspects of contemporary economy. So it's clear that everybody has a lot on the line. And what that's meant on the bad guy side is that there is an economy that's developed and a market, and it starts with simple so to speak, simple approaches such as credit card forms, malware that you can buy at the click of a mouse. I'm from Russia, so there's lots of markets that you can go to in Russia, online, of course, that allow you to purchase zero-day malware that can be then distributed via email attachments or watering hole sites and used to either extract information from end user client devices, whether it is credit card information or other PII, personal identifiable information, or get into corporate networks and exfiltrate IP, etc. So the vectors are numerous. The bad guys have organized very well, and besides the commercial gain kind of motivation, there's obviously nation states, right? I don't know if you've seen the Mandiant report, for example, last year. China has great capability. Russia certainly has capability. Other countries do. Of course, the United States and Israel have worked together, allegedly, on the Stuxnet. So lots of threats, and they're sophisticated. So, David, if you don't mind advancing. And please keep forwarding to the slide. So the key thing here is, there are pretty well-defined stages to any intrusion, and typically it starts out with basic research, which can be conducted using public means. So I can find out about PKA attack on the internet. I can see who is the founder, where they live. I can go into social networks and find who their friends are. I can gather enough information to potentially impersonate them, which is something that was possible long before the internet. People have done that sort of impersonation with phone books and county records, but it's much, much easier now. So one of the key things is knowing that you're by default exposed and preparing yourself, or in the case of a company, your users, for the potential threat. That's in research phase. Then there's the infiltration phase, where an attacker has to get into the network or application somehow, and this could be obviously any number of vectors there. It could be an exploit that's directly executed against an application. It could be an exploit that's bundled up and delivered to a user via an email attachment or a watering hole attack. It can be network access through a partner, as was the case, I believe, with Target, if I'm not mistaken. And at any rate, the point is that we gain a foothold, or the attacker, the bad guy, gains a foothold in your network. And so at this stage, there's obviously also particular protections that can be put in place. And that's more or less where we're going to focus today, is how do bad guys get in, and then furthermore, the next stage is how do they continue expanding their footprint in your network. Because once I maybe attack a web server and I gain a foothold on the web server, I might be able to then use that web server to hop further into the network. Or if I have a piece of malware installed on the client machine and I have a control channel, I then will try and go further in, maybe get to a database server. And so the infiltration and discovery phases both involve potentially exploiting vulnerabilities or performing discovery, so scans of the network, maybe brute force attacks trying to get authentication credentials. And so these can also be detected using network-based tools, as well as security information management products and services. So once an attacker is in your network, and once they figured out what's there, maybe they did a port scan across the network, they figured out where the web servers are, maybe they found the databases, maybe they found your domain controllers, they then will figure out what information they can get. And if it's an attack of any sophistication, they of course already know what they want. If you're JP Morgan Chase, they will want the account information for your users. The same with the credit card processor. If you're an engineering company, that's probably an attack that's targeted information pertaining to your products, so your IP, etc. And that phase, of course, implies access to this data. So the key thing there is the information that this attacker is looking for is somewhere in the network. The question is, how easy is it to get to? And again, historically, maybe going back 10, 15 years, a very common scenario is what we used to call an M&M network, which is hard on the outside, soft on the inside. So once you're in past the firewall, once you're in the VPN, then you can pretty much get anything. Of course, networks have become more sophisticated, and there are better tools and better practices, there are standards, etc., that if an organization follows, will make it much more difficult for an attacker to expand the footprint get the data. The key thing there, of course, is access control and encryption. And so HP certainly has some offerings there with the Tala product line that allow you to encrypt the data at rest and monitor access using ArcSight, et cetera. And we can talk about that. But the key point being that typically attackers look for data, unless their motive is to just disrupt the network, which definitely can be the case. But in general, is much less frequent these days than it was, let's say, in 98, 99, 2000, when kids were bringing down websites. So the motives have changed, obviously. So data is key here. And then obviously the final step is to get data out, to exfiltrate it, to somehow deliver it back to the attacker. And there's a number of different technologies that are used for that. They can use public services because those are often allowed, so things can go out to Box or Dropbox, or they can use some sort of side channel where they build out a tunnel. They could hide inside another legitimate traffic. And so the key thing there is to monitor the kind of data that leaves the system. Obviously, have a record of who accesses what, et cetera, and SIM technology helps there, and of course DLP. So that's sort of the steps in a very general high-level steps of intrusion and the kinds of solutions that we have to potentially address them. And David, if I'm not mistaken, we're saving questions to the end, correct?
Yes, if anyone has questions, we'll do a question and answer period at the end, but feel free to use the question box on the right side of your screen and send those questions to me, and we'll address them all at the end.
Sounds good. So let's move forward. And let's fill out the slide. Yeah. So as I was describing, the adversary market has really matured. There's there's very sophisticated development behind a lot of the malware that we see out there. So the development life cycles and organizations are just about as sophisticated as commercial software vendors. The marketplace itself is quite sophisticated with multiple different players. There's competition, so it's pretty scary out there. Luckily enough, the industry is doing everything it can, and there's some smart people on this side of the fence as well. The unfortunate thing, in conjunction with this change in the threat market, we also have a change in the IT infrastructure, in the IT processes and practices, which is driven by move to the cloud. So our data is now not just on our own network, but also in Salesforce or in Dropbox or Google Docs. There's a lot more data being collected on both the users and the organizations. So we have these massive stores of information that, while are not in themselves always confidential, could lead to additional discovery, et cetera. And then finally, the mobility and sort of your own device model, where everybody walks around with some corporate information on their devices. So there's definitely additional challenges with that. And finally, depending on your industry, there's pressure from the other side to comply with certain regulations in the way the data is stored. So in terms of healthcare data or financial data, there's significant fines, et cetera, associated with not implementing good enough technology. So this is what the big challenges are in terms of security right now. Let's move forward. So HPE has historically, invested heavily in security in multiple portions of the organization because HPE is a big place. There were several acquisitions that have resulted in the creation of the Enterprise Security Products Group. So that would be the ArcSight, SIM, Security Information Management Suite, the Tipping Point, Intrusion Detection, Prevention, and now Firewall, then Atala for key management encryption, and finally Fortify for software security. And all of these organizations had their own security initiatives. Tipping Point specifically had its own research, as well as what's called the Zero-Day Initiative, which was essentially an open source sort of, if you want to say, call it crowdsourcing approach to security, where Tipping Point would work with researchers that discovered vulnerabilities, then chaperone the process to deliver the information to the vendors, to the appropriate certs, etc., and finally, probably signatures to protect customers. So, we're talking about thousands of researchers. The numbers are maybe a little bit dated here, and we work with all the major security organizations out there in terms of getting information about the current threats, specific vulnerabilities, etc. And what the result of this is between the different security organizations within HPE that are all run under one umbrella, but have their specializations, we generally come out with orders of magnitude higher number of vulnerabilities that we publish. That if you look at the ZDI website, our upcoming list typically runs to anywhere between 150 to 200 vulnerabilities, which means that HPE has worked with the original researcher, created a signature, and notified the vendor, and it's not been released yet by the vendor as an acknowledged vulnerability, but we already protect you from it. So that's a significant research edge that we have, in large degree thanks to the scale and the investment here. And of course, we collect additional information from industry feeds and from the network itself through various sensors. So all of that is sort of what creates the security knowledge behind the various products that we have. So please move forward. The more numbers here, we're talking about 9,000, let's say, filters, which pertain to typically specific vulnerabilities, occasionally exploits. If you look at Microsoft vulnerabilities, for example, or Adobe vulnerabilities, if you look at that, the credit section that describes who published it, and this is on the vendor's own websites, you'll often see HPE or ZDI. So lots of research, more than most of the other vendors combined, in fact. And so what that means is that you're not just looking at products here. You're looking at a continuously updated security profile. So delivered on a regular basis, verified, and proven over a period of about a dozen years. So let's move forward. So this is actually what I was talking about. As you can see, if you look at the security vendors out there, Tipping Point's published a significantly higher number of vulnerabilities. And again, this is public data from Microsoft and Adobe respectively. So one of the examples of this sort of benefit of having this research team is we had a filter for Heartbleed within a day. So on day one you were protected, and we created something as quickly as we could, and I believe we added another filter a little bit later on as it became clear what additional sort of aspects of this vulnerability could have been exploited. But fundamentally, we ended up with maybe 2 or 3 filters. Some of the vendors out there have anywhere between 8 and 9 because what they were looking at was an exploit-based filter, whereas HPE typically creates vulnerability-based filters. So they look at the actual vulnerability in the software and try to write a signature or filter as generic as possible that would catch that, rather than addressing every possible attack that's out there, which of course there could be many. So let's keep moving here. So the most recent sort of expression of this is what we call ThreatDV, and that's a combination of the filter, what we call digital vaccine. So the 9,000 plus filters, the reputation database that we have that we build from, again, a variety of sources from internal to HPE, as well as the various industry feeds, certs, etc. That includes IP addresses as well as domains. Obviously, there's a lot more domains because a lot of malware uses programmatically generated domain names to build control command channels. So you have that. In addition to that, we have another about 9,000 filters that pertain to malware, command control traffic, exfiltration attempts, etc. specifically. And so basically built specifically to address the malware threat. So the combination of all that is what ThreatDV is. It's updated very regularly, and it gives you automatic protection against the evolving threats that are very common now. It really is. It's almost the default. You know it's going to happen. So this gives you a peace of mind that you have this incredible research organization working day in and day out to provide a continuous shield against the various kinds of malware that are being developed. So let's move forward. The key thing, again, and it's interesting that in 2014 it's still kind of there's questions that people have. Well, I don't want to put some device in line that's blocking things, right? And I understand that having come from the network world, I don't like things that do things to packets. Firewall, okay, I know we have to have it because of segmentation, but IPS still sometimes gives people the wheelies a little bit. Well, the good thing is that technology has proven itself to be extremely reliable. So Tipping Point from day one was an inline device that was supposed to process all traffic and filter out the bad stuff. And lots of reliability features that are built into it, both in software in terms of, if I as a device at IPS feel that I'm overloaded, I'll just stop processing at that level until the traffic volume goes down, right? Or you can fail closed. There are built-in hardware features for zero power bypass. So there's lots of thought that's gone into the reliability of the actual software and hardware. In addition to that, what we call the default profile, the filters that are turned on from day one. It's about, I would say, a third of the total filter database, and they're selected for their low false positive rates, so high accuracy, and essentially over the last, let's say, 10, 12 years, we've come up with a very solid set of filters that result in very low impact to the network while giving you a good sense of security, or not sense, I should say, giving you a good security posture. And of course, completely tunable. So it's really it now becomes a question of ROI. If you do not go online, what happens is you see an attack, and maybe later, after you review the reports, you can go back and do something about it. By that point, the attackers have already infiltrated and have potentially already expanded their footprint, right? Whereas with the IPS in place, you have a much better chance of stopping at the much earlier stage in the attack life cycle. So that's a key thing here. That's why IPS is really the only approach these days. So let's move forward. And so with Tipping Point, historically it was an IPS appliance, as I said, built to be in line. We have it's been a couple of years at this point, introduced our NG firewall product, which is a full-featured next-generation firewall that's application-aware and user-aware, has all the firewall features that you would be familiar with, and includes the full IPS engine. So you now get the benefit of the Tipping Point IPS, the HPE security research, and all of the sort of benefits of ThreatDV, in addition to a full-featured firewall that you can use to do the segmentation, and etc. And same very reliable engine, same accurate filters, great research, low latency engine, years of experience, and all wrapped into one platform. And the key thing is this goes into your network, and it allows you to stop the attacks at a much earlier stage. It also allows you to choose which parts of the network you want to segment, which parts you want to just be in line as a transparent device. So you have a lot of flexibility to address both the infiltration stage as well as the expansion and discovery stage of the attack. So as I mentioned, multiple deployment modes for NGFW. You have the ability to be in layers 2 and layers 3 as routed and bridged. You have high availability features, full routing support, etc. So this is a device that will fit well into your network and give you the capabilities from a networking perspective, firewall perspective, as well as this full security suite. So let's move forward. And of course, full central management with SMS. So whether you have IPS devices, NG firewall devices, or both, you have full control, you have role-based access control for administrators, reporting, integration with the ArcSight SIM, of course, and alerting, etc. So if you're familiar, as I'm sure you are, with other firewalls on the market, this is going to be an easier to use interface, very full-featured, and makes the administration of this very, very, very straightforward for any team. So this is a portfolio. We're looking at a number of appliances going up to, I think we're 10 gig a second over here at the end. Full suite of interface options, up to 10 gigs, so definitely can fit anywhere from branch to data center. And I know we're getting close to time, so moving a little bit faster. Let's move forward. All right, and that's all we have for this program for the Turning Point. Thank you very much for your time, and please, David.
Okay, thank you, Ilya. If there are any questions, please use your question, the question box to submit questions. And as I'm waiting for some questions to come through, Ilya, I guess one of the questions that I have for you is maybe you could just talk a little bit about what's contained within that next generation firewall and how does it also protect against malware.
Right. So as I was describing, the way NGFW was sort of came to be is we took the entire IPS engine from the tipping point NG-IPS, and it's been around for at this point over 10 years. It's very proven technology, very high reliability, runs some of the most sensitive networks as well as some of the largest commercial networks in this country and the world. And we built it in with a full-featured next-generation firewall, which means you have what you traditionally consider a firewall feature set of source destination port IP protocol filtering, as well as full application layer awareness. So you can say, I want to allow Facebook, but I want to disallow chat, or I want to allow IM, but not file transfers, or etc. So hundreds and actually thousands of application signatures that allow very detailed filtering at application layer, as well as user identity information. So you could say the particular group of users has access to certain things, and you're not just talking about filtering by IP. So what you would consider, a next-gen firewall. And of course, because of the IPS engine, you have 9,000 digital vaccine filters that stop attacks and certain vulnerabilities, that stop certain exploits from being run, and also have reputation with RepDV, and you have malware, command control, botnet filters with ThreatDV. So a full set of features to protect you against the contemporary sort of attacker.
Okay, thank you. It doesn't appear that I have any additional questions. So what I'm going to do is just spend a couple minutes and just give you a little bit of overview of who PKA Technologies are. So we're an IT infrastructure integrator. We've been in the New York metro area for over 20 years, and we work with both commercial and public sector clients. On the public sector side in New York, we are an authorized provider along with Hewlett-Packard on the New York State OGS contract. And the same goes in New Jersey with the New Jersey WSCA contract. We're an authorized HPE provider. And in addition, and importantly to note, is that we're a certified woman-owned enterprise. So for the people in the public sector, that's important. And I think more, important for everybody that could be on the line is that we're an HPE Platinum partner, meaning that we've gone through a high level of certification steps in order to reach that level of partnership with HPE. And kind of as a testament to the training and certifications that we have gone through, we're also been asked by Intel and Hewlett-Packard to sit on some of their advisory councils. So that's their intention to work with their solution providers to get more of an in-depth, not only look at the market and the way they go to market, but how they can be a better partner for all of us. So, PKA has traditionally provided you solutions in the storage space, in designing and implementing virtualized systems. We're now working with the HPE Vertica team to provide insight into your data. As we heard earlier today, we work with the enterprise security team to protect your data. And if you're looking to move to the cloud, feel free to talk to us, because we do have the ability to help guide you, whether you're using public cloud, private cloud, or a hybrid approach. We have some people here that can help you through that process. Some of the services that we do provide are assessments and evaluations of your entire data center and network infrastructure. We'll do data migration. I think most importantly is the installation and implementation services that we'll provide in your data center. We're a soup to nuts approach of assessment, design, installation, and support of all the data center infrastructure equipment that you're looking for. And we'll provide you access to our demo center. Here's a picture of our data center up here in Suffern, New York. We'll provide proof of concepts for you. You can come load your applications and we'll test and run them for you. Or we'll also provide evaluation equipment right on your site, and you can test the equipment and make sure that it's the right fit for you. And I'm also going to leave you with a list of the key contacts within the company. And I thank you, all very much for attending today. I'm going to close the call shortly, but before I do, I just want to remind you that we'll send you a link to the slides and the recording of this presentation. We'll also send you a copy of Frost & Sullivan's white paper, The Next Generation Enterprise Network Security Solutions, the importance of incorporating vulnerability intelligence. So please, as this event ends, a survey will come. Please fill it out. One of the last questions is what kind of coffee you prefer, and once we get those responses back from you, we will send you a gift card so you can enjoy a hot cup of coffee and a treat. Please be on the lookout for an invitation for our next Tech Talk, which will be in November, and we will be talking about improving data center efficiency. Thank you to both Kevin and Ilya for joining us, and thank you to all of you for joining us.